This is the sixth video of ICM basic tutorial. We're going to talk about how to create selections with SQL, SQL. SQL is really useful if you want to create selections based on certain criteria. For this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to create selection for all subcatchments, all nodes that are not manholes, all pipes that are less than 250 millimeter wide, and all pipes that are less than 250 millimeter wide and less than 10 meter long. So first, we're going to talk about how to create the selection lists for all subcatchments. I'm going to open a network first. And then we can click on this SQL select to open an SQL dialog. Or you can go to selection, SQL select to go to this same dialog. And then we want to select subcatchment from the object drop-down menu. And then we can select subcatchment ID from the field drop-down menu. And you can see the subcatchment ID will be automatically populated in the text box. And then we can click on Builder. Builder allows you to create a SQL in a really easy way because it has all of the components that you needed. And then we can click on this larger than comparison button here, and then click on the 0, type in 0 in this constant text box, and then press OK. And then you can see a SQL sentence will be created for you in this text box. And then we can save this query. You can click on this Save As button, and then you can navigate to the Start Query model group to save the query in this model group. We want to name this SQL as subcatchment. And then click on Save. And then this query will be saved in this Start Query model group. And then we can click on Run to run the query. And you can see that all of the subcatchment will be selected in the geoplan. And now we want to create a selection list for the subcatchments. We can right-click on the selection list group and then new InfoWorks and then selection list. And then name the selection list to be subcatchment SQL. And then click on OK. And then now you can see that the subcatchment SQL is created. Okay, so now we're gonna go to our next section. We want to create a selection list for nodes that are not manholes. First, we want to deselect all of the elements by clicking on this deselect button. And then we want to click on the SQL select again. And this time we want to select all nodes from this object drop-down menu because this time we want to perform our SQL sentence in this node category. And then from this field drop-down menu, we can select node type. And then click on this build again. And then we can click on this not equal to comparison. And then in this constant box, we're going to type in manhole with a single quote around it. And then press OK. Now you can see that this SQL sentence will be created in the text box. And then we can click on test to test if the sentence has valid syntax. As you can see, if it has valid syntax, it will give you a summary of how many items will be selected based on the criteria. So we can click on OK to close this. Now that we see we have valid syntax, we can save this SQL again by clicking on this Save As button, and then go to the Start Query group, Model group, and then name this query to be Nodes, not Manhouse. And then click on Save, and you can see that Nodes, not Manhouse is saved underneath this model group. And then we can click on Run to run this query. And then you can see that there are some nodes that are selected on this area. And then we can right click on an empty area in this model geoplan, and then click on Zoom to Selection. And you can see that we will zoom to the current selection in the geoplan. And we can also view the selection in the grid window. You can go to Window, Grid Window, New Node Window, or you can click on this Grid Window button on the top and then choose New Node Window. And then we can click on the node type column and right-click on the node type column and then choose Sort on Selected Column Descending. And then you can see that the top 3 rows are selected here. The red means that they are selected, and there are 2 storage nodes and then 1 outflow nodes. After reviewing the grid view for all of the nodes, we can click on this cross button to close this grid view, or you can right click on the tab name and then choose Close tab to close this. So next we're going to continue. We're going to select pipes less than 250 millimeter wide. Again, we want to click on this Clear Selection option to clear all of the selections. And then we can choose SQL Select Tool. And then in this SQL dialog, we're going to select Conduit in the Object drop-down menu. And we're going to select Conduit Width from the Field drop-down menu. And this time, we're going to enter the SQL sentence manually. We can just type in less than 250 on our keyboard without using the builder tool, because it's going to give us the same effect. And then we can click on test to see if we have valid syntax. It does, so we can click OK. And then we want to save this SQL again by click on this Save As button. And then we will go to the Start Query group and then name this query as pipe less than 250 millimeters. And then click on Save. And then we can click on Run to run the query. And then we can right-click and zoom to selection. as you can see, all of the pipes that's less than 250 millimeter wide will be selected. Again, we can create a selection list for this selection. Right-click on the selection list group, and then click on New InfoWorks, and then choose Selection List, and then name this selection list as pipe less than 250 millimeter. And then click on OK. Okay, so for the last section, we're going to talk about how to create the selection lists for pipes less than 250 millimeter wide and then 10 meter long. Because we already create a SQL with the pipes less than 250 millimeter width, we can reuse this by copying the existing query. So we can first right-click on the pipes less than 250 millimeter query and then choose copy. We want to paste this SQL underneath the stock query model group. So we want to right-click on the stock query model group, and then choose paste. And you can see we have a pipes less than 250 millimeter with an exclamation point created here. And then we want to rename this. You can right-click and then choose rename. And then we want to name this as minor pipes. And then we can clear the current selection by clicking this clear selection tool. And then we want to open this minor pipes SQL. In the tutorial, it asks us to drag this query onto the ICM background. We don't have a background because of the geoplan is maximized. So you can maximize it by clicking on this button and then drag this minor pipes in the background. Another simpler way to open this is to just double click on the minor pipes. And then the SQL dialog is also opened. Now we want to click on this builder again, and then we want to build this SQL like this. So it's going to be conduit width less than 250 or conduit length less than 10. So we can either build this in the builder by clicking the R and select field conduit length. Sorry, I need to put this here. And then, so make sure that your cursor is in the correct location. Otherwise, the insert doesn't work. So, and then we can select less than 10. Or you can, just copy whatever we have here into our SQL text box. And then we can click on the, so either way will work. So we can click on the test. And now we can see that we have correct syntax. We can click OK. And then we can save, click on save to resave our changes to this minor pipe query. And then we can click on run to run the query. And now we can see all of the pipes that satisfies the criteria are selected. And now we can create a selection list for minor pipes. Again, we can right-click on the selection list group and then New InfoWorks. and then selection list, and then we can choose my minor pipes. So we go to the 12th step. We want to view the results of a query as a grade. So we want to first clear our selection, and we want to open our minor pipes SQL, and then we want to click on this grade tab, and then we want to hold the control key on our keyboard and then select US node ID, link suffix, conduit length, and then conduit width, and then click include, and then click on test grid. As you can see, the grid view will be opened. So we can close the SQL tab. So all of the pipes that are selected will be showing up in this grid view. Okay, so that concludes the video.